to hit this create button, and then you can come on this view all projects option. Automatically you're going to get redirected to this beautiful page. Now here you need to come down, and when you'll hit this view full list button, you will be able to see couple of options getting reflected right in the bottom, and here you will get to see this Weblab option. You just have to hit this option and automatically you will come across a very beautiful environment where you can define HTML and CSS coding, and also you can add some image if you want to get that reflected on the stage area. Fine. So the first thing which is visible to us over here on this beautiful animated page is this contact us. So it's a kind of text, and we can make use of a simple, let's make use of this header tag because it is coming in the header section, right? So I am going to put that contact us in this header section. Now let's make use of heading tags for that contact us. So when you will define this contact us in between this h3 tag, so this is what you're going to get as an output. So let's make it h1. I think h1 is going to give us the proper result, and after that, if required, we will customize this with the help of some CSS coding. Okay, so we are done with defining the required code for this contact us, defining the required HTML code. Later on we will use some CSS coding for styling it up. Okay, now we have some gap in between this contact us and this label box over here, right? And as you can see, there are two different images which are traveling from left to the right direction. So one is this image and the other one is this fish image. So what we can do, we can put them inside a division, and we can define two different divisions for these two images. One we are going to define for this fast moving image, and the other one we are going to define for this image which is moving very slowly. Let's do that quickly. So after this header part, I'm going to define a division section. Okay, and inside this division section, let's define another division section, and I'm going to define a class for this. Let's say fish. So this is going to be for the first image. Okay, this one which is moving extremely fast on this animated web page. And now we need to close this division, so I am doing that. Let's copy this whole thing, and I am placing the copied part right below this division tag. Okay, and let's change the class of this second division, so I am naming it as fish2. So this one I will be using for the first fish image, and this division I will use for this second image, right? Okay, now after this we can define a form. With the help of this form tag we can easily do it, and let's define a method for this form. So the method is going to be post, because I would like to post something. Okay, and after this, so what all different components we have on this in this main section, that's what we have to now identify. So we have a label box, and just after this label box we have an input box, right? And again below this input box we have again a label box, then there is an input box, then again there is a label box, and this is a text area which we are able to see over here, right? And then we have a button. Okay, so what I am doing now, I am going to put this label box and this input box in one division. So for that, inside this form we need to define a division, and inside this division I am going to uh, make use of this label field for this your name part. So let's now write down your name like this over here, and after that we can close the label box. Okay, what else do we have with this label box? So we have an input box also with this label box. Now how can we define this input box? So we can make use of input tag, of course, and this time the type of this input is going to be text. So it is a text type of input box I would like to define over here. And now if suppose you want to connect this label with this input box, how can you do that? So you can make use of the for field. So I've defined this label for what? For something which has this name. Okay, now how can we connect this input box with this label box with the help of this value? That's what we have to see. So what we can do, we can make use of the name attribute, and let's name it as name only. So now we have connected this label box with this input box with this name or with this value. Okay, fine. Now let's close this division tag. Fine, so we are done with defining the required HTML code for this label box and this input box over here. Now I am copying this whole thing and I am going to put it just below this code. Now this time we are going to define the code for this label box and this input box over here. So we have this thing right now getting reflected on this form. How can we get this thing? So the only thing that we have to change is this part. In place of name, we need to see email, right? So you can just make the changes like this. Let's refresh the stage area and you will be able to see now all the components, the code of which you have defined till now over here on the stage area. Right, now is there anything else I need to change over here? So because we need to connect this label with this input box, so we can make use of email over here in for both these attributes. Okay, fine. So we are done with defining the HTML code for this label box and this input box. Now we need to define the HTML code for this label box and this text area. So the best way is to just copy this whole thing and let's place it just below this copied part. Okay, now we need to define a label box first which says your message. So let's replace this email with message so that we can get to see the required output over here. And now if you want to connect this label box with this input box, but it is not an input box, right? It is a text area which is visible to us over here. Now what is the tag that you can make use of for defining a text area? So in place of this input we need to write down text area like this. Okay, and the type of this text area is going to be, we don't have to define any type, we just have to define the name so as to connect this label box with this text area. Okay, by default it is always a text type of text area, right? That's why it is named so. I think I have to remove it. Yeah, now it is perfectly fine. Text area we have defined. Okay, we haven't closed this text area, right? So we need to close it also because it is a container tag. Let's now refresh the stage area and see what is going to happen. So we are able to see all the three label boxes. Okay, we are able to see all the three labels over here on the stage area, and besides we are also able to see both the input boxes as well as the text area which we have defined for this label box over here. Right, now what else do we have to do? So we have a button also over here on this beautiful animated page. Now let's define the code for this button so that we can see a button also over here on the stage area. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to make use of this input tag, and this time the type of this input tag is going to be button, because it is a button that we would like to see over here on the stage area. Now what is the value that I need to pass for this button? So we have to pass send your message, because we want to see this send your message text getting reflected on the top of this button. So let's make use of this attribute value, and inside this we can write down send your message like this. Okay, let's now close this input box and refresh this stage area. So now we are able to see all the required components are now getting reflected on the stage area, right? So the everything is perfectly fine. Now the tags which we have to close are, we have to close this font tag. So let's do that quickly. Done with that. Okay, now what else we have to close? We need to close this division tag also, which we have placed right after this header tag, right? So for closing this division tag, we can just write down /div. Okay, so it is going to close for us the division section, which we have defined right on the top just after this header part. So when you'll refresh this stage area, this is what right now is getting visible to us because of this HTML code that we have defined over here. Okay, let's now come on this CSS file and eliminate everything whatever we have right now over here in this file. Now the first thing that we have to style is the body and this whole HTML code. So what we can do, we can write down body over here and HTML also. Okay, now let's first define some height for our body. So I would like to have a height of, let's say, 100%. It should be always 100% whether the user access it on mobile or the user access it on a desktop. And padding, I don't want to have any kind of padding, so let's make it 0, and margin also I am making it 0. Okay, now I would like to have a box kind of I would like to have a border box kind of sizing. So for that we can make use of this box sizing property, and let's pass this border box value for this property. Okay, so we are done with defining the required code for styling the body section. Now let's come on this header 1. Okay, so coming back to style.css, I need to write down h1 over here. So we are using this, we have defined this h1 only for this contact us section. Okay, we haven't made use of h1 for any other thing. So whatever properties and whatever values I'm going to pass for the properties over here inside this inside these two curly brackets, they will be applicable only on this contact us text, right? Okay, let's now style this contact us. So the first thing that I would like to do is, let's have a font weight of, let's say, how about 500? I think this is fine. Okay, now you'll refresh this, so this is what you'll get to see. Okay, now we would like to have a font size of, so with this you can change the font size, of course. Let's make it 60 pixels. I think that is good. Yeah, it is pretty much similar to this one, right? Okay, font size is 60 pixel. Now what is the color of this text? For finding that out, what we can do, we can access the code.org platform, and on that code.org platform we are going to access the game lab. Okay, and then we can make use of the color picker tool in order to find out the color of the text of that contact us thing. So let's hit this create button and visit this game lab. So this is what you are going to come across. Now you have to hit this animation tag over here, Let's set this new animation tab, and then we can make use of this draw your own option. So this is an empty frame you're going to come across now. This original, you can take a snapshot of this original web form which you're trying to create by pressing print screen button available on your respective keyboards. Then you can paste that screenshot over here just by hitting Ctrl and V together, and this is what you are going to see now. You need to hit this next button and automatically the image is going to come over here on the empty frame. Now let's make use of this color picker tool and find out the color of this text over here. So we just have to hit this C, and whatever the color is of this text, the code you guys will be able to see over here in this input box. So let's copy this code and put it over here for this color property. So now you can see the contact us, the color of the contact us text has now changed. Okay, now in order to see it in the center, because you know on this web page it is getting reflected right in the center. Even if you will shrink this window, it will be there in the center only. So how can we make it appear in the center? So we guys can make use of text align property. That is absolutely right, because right now we are trying to center, we are trying to bring a text in the center, right? So this is the best option that you can make use of. Then we have some space in between this top part and this contact us. So how can you put a space in between these two things? You can make use of margin top property. Okay, and let's pass a value of 1 pixel. So now this is what you are going to get as an output. Right, so that's how you can customize this header thing. Okay, fine. Now let's come on the keyframes part, or this animation section you can say. So how can we get this kind of animation? That's what we have to first find out. See, the fishes are coming from this end, right? And you know, they are traveling from the left side towards the right side. They are coming from this left side and they are going towards the right side. Now what is actually happening? What is actually happening over here? The margin left margin, if you will go on increasing the left margin, automatically the things are going to start going in the right direction. Now how can we make it happen? How can we code for the left margin in such a way that we can push the image in the right direction, and it should happen automatically? Okay, so what we can do for that animation part, we can make use of this keyframes property, and let's define a name for this animation. So I'm defining my first. Okay, so this is the name which I have given to my animation. I'm eliminating these two curly brackets, and let's place two curly brackets over here. Now, as I've told you in the previous lectures, we can make use of 0%, then let's say 70%. Then after some time, the value should increase and it should become 100%. So these percentages over here are for the time part. In the beginning, the margin left property, okay, the margin left property should be let's say minus 235 pixels, because you know in the beginning we are not able to see the images are coming from the left side. So we can pass a negative value for this margin left property. Let's now copy this thing, and after some time, you know, that is the reason I've increased the percentage by 70%. If you want, you can make it 25, 30, 40, it totally depends upon you. So after some time, I would like the margin left to increase let's say to 60%. Okay, and then let's copy this code and make use of it for this 100%. So this time I would like to see it going to 100%. Okay. Now we, as you guys know, that we have defined two division sections. So in this one we are going to keep this first fish image, and in this, for this fish 2 class, we are going to have this animation, this low one. Okay, so how can we access this division? We can make use of the class names. So we can put the class names like this, and just before placing the class names, make sure that you have placed a dot also, because it is a syntax that you have to take care of if you are working with classes. Okay, so dot fish. Now inside this fish, the first thing that I would like to do is, let's set the background image. Okay, so how can we set the background image of the first division? We can make use of URL property, and inside this we are going to pass the link of this fish image. So this is the link. We can copy it from here and we can paste it inside this URL in between two single inverted commas. Okay, fine. Now after this, let's place a colon over here. Right. Okay, now after this, what we can do, we can define a width for our image. Let's say it should be of 235 pixels, and let's define a height, specific height also for this image. Let's say 104 pixels. Okay, and margin left, so initially I would like to see it at this particular point. Okay, and then position, so position should be always absolute. I don't want it to overlap with these items over here, so that is the reason I have passed absolute value for the position part. Okay, position property. Now let's make use of this animation property for adding this animation to this class. How can we do that? We just have to copy the name and place it over here, and I would like to see it. This is a time duration that you can pass, how how speedy you want the fish to move on the form. And then I would like to see the animation for infinite time. It should be linear because it is moving along x-axis, right? So that is the reason you can pass this linear also along with all these things. Okay, and from what distance from the top you would like to see the image, so you can make use of this top property. Let's pass 260 pixels. Okay, so I'm done with defining the code for this first image, and as you can see, we are able to see the image moving from the left side to the right side. So as it is moving from left side to right side, it means that the margin is constantly increasing, and it is increasing just because of this code that we have defined over here, right? And if you want to put the same animation for the second image, now for that what you can do, but before that, there is something which I'm missing. This first image over here is somewhat close to this contact us. So for that, what we can do, we can reduce down the margin from the top. We can reduce the space in between this top part and this image just by passing a value which is smaller than 260. So let's pass a value of 120 pixels. So that's where you will be able to see the image now, right? And besides this, let's change this time to 3 seconds. So now you will be able to see it moving more fast. Okay, now in order to define this the animation for this second image, okay, so we can just copy this whole thing and we can place it over here like this. Now the only change that you have to do is in the class name. So the class name which we have the class which we have defined for the second division is fish2, right? So we need to write down fish2 over here, and I would like to see it somewhere at this distance 260. Okay, so now two different images are visible to us, and let's change the time to, let's say, 6 seconds. I think it is going to give us the correct output. Yes. So that's how you can get to see the fishes moving from the left side to the right side on your window, right? Isn't it amazing? Do like and share this video. Okay, I would like this video to reach to the maximum students possible, so that they can also come and enjoy these free online coding classes which we guys are providing on our channel. And thank you very much for supporting our channel. Okay, let's now customize this header part. So we have some images also, these mountains which you're able to see over here in this header part. Now how can we make this kind of diagram in the header part, or how can we make this beautiful mountain kind of structure in the header part? That's what we are going to check out. So for accessing the header part, we just have to write down the name of the tag, which is header, of course. Let's define a specific height for this header. So I would like to define a height of 160 pixels. Okay, and then we need to define this background. Okay, this one. Now if I will repeat this background along x-axis, I will be able to get this mountain kind of structure, right? So let's make use of this image. So I'm copying it from here, and I am going to make use of now, let's do one thing. Let's copy this code from here and place it over here. Okay, now in place of this URL, I am going to copy this URL of this mountain kind of thing and place it in place of this one. I think this is going to give us the correct output. Okay, so we are able to see some mountains getting reflected over here, but they are repeating, they are repeating themselves along x-axis also and along y-axis also. I don't want the mountains to repeat themselves along y-axis. So what we can do, we can make use of a repeat property. So let's repeat the mountains along x-axis, and that too in the bottom part. Why is it not giving us the correct output? Okay, I think we are missing one thing. We have to eliminate this semicolon. Now when we will refresh this window, we are not able to see the required output. Why is it so? Just a second, let me find it out for you. So we are repeating it at x in the bottom. So this is perfectly fine. Okay, URL. No problem, we'll come back on this section. Okay, let's first customize this form part. Okay, so what do we have inside this form? So we have 3 different divisions inside the form, and we have one input box also. So how to access the form? Now, do we have any class named form which we have defined, or do we have anything, any ID with name form that we have defined over here in this HTML document? Let's check it out. So I think we have not defined any ID with name form for any of these components, right? Okay, no problem. Let's do one thing. We can access the form, I think, directly by using the name of the tag like this. Yes, of course. Let's define a margin for the form that we have created. So margin should be auto, and width should be let's say approximately 500 pixels. I think it is very good. Okay, then let's define a padding top for this form. Okay, in order to keep some space in between these components and the top of the form. So padding top for this, let's pass a value of 40 pixels. Okay, and I would like to have a color of white. Okay, and let's define a position also. So I would like to have a relative position, because I don't want it to overlap with any other component. So it will be a I have passed this relative as a value for this position property. Okay, now I am going to style the label boxes and these input boxes and the text area. So how can we do it in one single go? We just have to write down all the names of all the components, and we need to separate them with the help of comma. So we would like to define a property for the label box, for the input box, and for the text area. Okay, and what is that property? So I would like to have a display, let's have a block kind of display. Okay, so it is going to stack on each other now. Fine. Now what else can we do? We can now let's customize these input boxes and this text area. So for customizing both of them in the same go, we can put them together just by separating them with the help of comma. So now what all properties I'm going to define over here, they will be applicable on both these things, all the input boxes which are present on this form and all the text areas, right? So let's define a width first for both the things. So I would like to have a width of 500 pixel. Let's define a border for the boxes and the input fields. So I don't want to have a border, because here also on this original form we do not have any kind of border for these input boxes and for this message area. So that is the reason I have passed none as a value for this border. Okay, and because these are round in shape at the extreme end, so how can we get that kind of view? So we can make use of the border radius property, and let's have a border radius of 20 pixels, right? Okay, now what else can we do? We can outline no, we can make use of this padding property, and let's pass a value of 10 pixels, right? And let's now define some font size also. So font size is going to be 1 em. Em is for emphasize. And color, what is the color? I would like to see these input boxes and text areas. So there is a color code that we can make use of, 676767, right? Okay, and let's define a border sizing also, because I would like to see everything getting reflected inside the form. So that's the reason we need to have some border sizing. If you don't know about this border sizing, do watch, sorry, not the border sizing, it is box sizing. If you want to get more information about this box sizing thing, you can check out the previous lecture. Definitely you will be able to find out the reason why I am using this border box property for this box sizing over here. Okay, so it is going to put everything in place inside. And fine, so we are done with customizing this input and text areas. Now let's define something for the text area. So let's define a height of 100 pixel. I think it is fine, 100 pixel is fine. I don't want to resize it again. I don't want it to resize it if anyone is checking it on the mobile, on his mobile. Fine, so we are done with defining the required code for the input boxes and text boxes. Now let's customize the input box in such a way that we can see them. We are not able to see them right now. Okay, everything is invisible to us. Why? Because the background of the form is similar to the background color of the components. So let's access the input form of type submit. So we have used the type submit for which button? That's what we have to. I think we haven't made use of the type submit for this send your message button, right? Let's do one thing. Let's change it to submit. Okay, now in order to customize this button, we can access this button first on this cascading sheet. Now how to access the button on this cascading sheet? That's what we have to see. So there is a very simple code that you can make use of for accessing that submit button. You just have to write down the name of the tag, and inside these two brackets you can write down the type of the input, because there are three different inputs which we have used over here on this contact form. So because I am right now customizing the submit type of input, so that is the reason we need to write down submit over here. In between these two curly brackets, let's pass a background color. Now how to get the color code of this background color of the button? So we need to come on this game lab and let's make use of the color picker tool for getting the color code of the background color of the button. We are not able to see the button right now. Let's print screen and paste the screenshot over here again. Okay, now we are able to see it. Let's hit this color picker tool and check out the color code of this button. So this is the color code. I am placing it right on the top, just after this input type submit. So we can make use of this background color property, because right now we are changing. We want to change the color of a button. So background color is a property which you can make use of, and let's paste the code that we copied from there. Okay, now what we can do, it should be submit. The spelling of submit is not correct. Yeah, now we are able to see the required output over here. And what is the color of the text which is getting reflected on the top of this button? So it is in white. How can we get that kind of text? So we can make use of this property color, and let's pass this value white for the color. Let's define a specific height for this button, and then we can if we are bringing our mouse on this button, so the symbol of the cursor is changing. It is turning into a pointer, right? How can we do that? So we can make use of this cursor property, and let's pass this value pointer for this property over here. Now at what distance you would like to see it getting reflected on this form from this text area? So we can define something for the margin top part. Okay, I would like to have a space of 30 pixel in between this send your message and the text area over here. So I think now everything is perfectly fine. Okay, now let's come on this original web page. If you're bringing your cursor over this button, so something is happening to this button. Its transparency is changing. So how can we get this kind of effect? We can make use of the hover property. So what we can do, we can write down hover over here. Okay, I think we cannot use it like this. Let's do one thing. Let's copy this whole thing and place it over here. Just after this bracket, we can place a colon, and then we can make use of this hover property. So whenever the user is going to hover the mouse on this button, I would like the opacity of the button to change from something to 0.8. Okay, let's check it out. Yeah, now we are able to see the required output. Okay, so that's how you can make use of this opacity property in order to get the required output. Let's now define something for the label boxes. Label. Okay, so the font size. So I'm now customizing the view of these label boxes. I would like to have a font size of, let's say, 30 pixel. I think it is fine. And then let me just give some space in the bottom so that you can see the complete code. Okay, now we can pass something for the margin top property. So I would like to have a space in between, a space of 20 pixel in between the label box and all the content which is present on the top of this label box. And let's now define some padding left. So let's have a 20 pixel value for this padding left property for all the label boxes that we have on this beautiful form. Okay, now when you will hit this refresh and save button, so this is what you are going to get as an output. Now the thing is, we are able to see this contact us getting reflected right on the top. Okay, now then we are able to see both the fishes also. We are able to see this button also. But the only thing which is not visible to us is the components that we have defined over here. Okay, inside this form. Now we have to think about how can we get these components reflected over here, and how can we get this blue background. That's also is a main thing that we have to find out. So let's do one thing. Let's come on this game lab and check out the color code of this what we call it, of this image. Okay, so what we can do, we can hit this color picker tool and let's hit this image over here. So this is the color code of this image, of this part of the image. Okay, let's copy this color code and come on this CSS file. Now here inside this form, where is the form? Yeah, this is the one. So in place of this white, I would like to have this color. Okay, so now the text is getting reflected in this way, but I don't want the label boxes to get reflected in this color. So I am eliminating it from here. I would like to keep this white only for this color part. Let's make use of the background color property for changing the background color of the form, and let's define this color. Okay, so we are able to see now this kind of view. But on this original web form, this color is everywhere in this middle section. So how can we get this color reflected everywhere in this middle section? Now that's what we have to find out. So let's do one thing. Let's check out the division in between which, inside which all these components are present. So we have all the components, these two divisions which we have used for this fishes over here, then this form, and then this input box. We have all these things inside this division which we have defined just after this header part. So why don't we pass the this background color for this division? Let's try it out. So I'm going to make use of, uh, let's make use of the ID now. Okay, so you can access this division with this ID. How to do that? So first of all, I am eliminating this background color which I've defined for the form. Where is that? Yeah, this is the one. I'm eliminating this line of code. Okay, let's come down. Now to access that division with the help of this ID, we can write down the name of the ID over here, and just before this ID, name of the ID, we need to place this hash. Okay, so this is the syntax that you have to keep in mind when you're accessing something with the help of ID. Okay, let's now make use of the background color property. So I would like to have a background color of this for the whole division section. So this is what now you are going to get as an output. Okay, so everything is blue and we are able to see all the components also, and besides we are able to see the animation thing also. This contact us is also visible. Now the only thing which is left is this mountain kind of thing. Now how can we get this thing reflected over here for the form that we have just created? Now that's what we have to see. Let's come on this style.css file, and where have we defined the code for that? Just give me a short moment, let me find out that code. Okay, this is the one. So here we have defined this background image. Okay, let's do one thing. Let's cut it from here and I'm pasting it over here. So this is this is for getting the background repeated in the bottom of this header along x-axis. Now why this code is not working, that's what I am trying to check out. So this the image is perfectly fine. Okay, but it is, if I will remove it from here, definitely it will be visible to us over here. Okay, it is going to get reflected over here on this page, but I don't want to see it like this. I want to see it getting reflected only once, right, that too right in the bottom of this header part. Now how can we get that kind of output? That's what we have to check out. Let's come up, and in this h1 thing, so text align, color, font size, font, this is perfectly fine. This is also perfectly fine. Okay, what is the thing that we are missing? Now that's what we have to search for. So this is URL. Okay, let's do one thing. I am okay, so I think I am missing, I'm cutting it from here and I'm pasting it along with this h1 tag. Okay, so this is our header part. Height is 160 pixels. Let's increase the height to 200 and see what is going to happen. Okay, so the height is now, the space is now more, but we are not able to see the background image. Why this code is not working? Is there any issue in the code? Let's define it one more time. So this is the URL property, or you can say attribute, I have made use of for accessing this image. Now I would like to repeat it. Along x-axis in the bottom. Why is it not giving us the correct output? And if I will remove this, definitely it will be it is going to be visible to us over here on this, in this header part. Alright, I'm reducing it to 160 pixels again. Okay, So everything is coming, the only thing which is missing is this mountain part, right? Okay, we are again stuck in a major issue. How can we resolve it? Now that's what we have to check out. Okay, repeat x. If I'll pass it like this, okay, and then let's copy this whole thing, and instead of putting it like this, let's copy this thing and I am placing it over here. Okay, now what is the link of this image? Let's check it out. The link of this image is this, and I am going to replace this link with the one which I just copied. No, it is not working. Now why is it not working? Why this repeat part is not working? It is perfectly fine. I think a repeat, and we would like to repeat it in along this axis, bottom. Let's do one thing. Let's open one more Weblab environment, and I'm going to copy this whole code which I've written over here and this whole code which I've written inside this HTML document on that platform. Let's see whether what is the output we are going to get with that code. Okay. So I'm done with copying the HTML code. Let's now copy this CSS code and paste it over here in place of this whole thing. So yes, so this is what we are going to, this is what we are getting as an output. Why we are not able to see those mountains now? That's what we have to fix. Okay, so we have, what do we have for this h1 tags? Let's check it out. So we have this font weight. If I will remove this font weight, okay, font size, color, this is perfect. Then we have text align, then margin top is also perfectly fine. Then we have this header part, and everything is what do we have for the what we have defined for this body in HTML. So height 100%, padding 0, margin 0, box sizing, border box, this is perfectly fine. And if you'll come down over here in this header part, so this header is actually the portion which contains this contact us and this mountain kind of thing over here. So why we are not able to get the mountains? Height is 160 pixels. Okay, let me do one thing. Let me just check out the code from here, because I've designed it on my own, and let's see, are we missing something or not? This is the project. Let's see what I have defined for the header section. So I have defined, yes, I have made use of this repeat x only. Now it is working here, but it is not working on over here, right? It is not working over here. Yeah, now it is perfectly fine. I think we were there was some syntax error that we were making, that was there. what was that syntax error? Let's check it out. So background is there, then URL is this, and repeat X bottom is also there. And if I will copy this and place it in place of this, okay, I think there is some issue with this link, right? This link is not, this is the original link. Let's copy this whole thing and place it over here. I think now we'll be able to get the mountains. Yes, so we are able to see the mountains over here. Okay, and that's how you can develop a full-fledged animated message form in Weblab using simple HTML and CSS codes. Hope you guys enjoyed this lecture a lot. Do share and like this video, and do invite your friends also on this channel so that they can also come and learn these free coding things that we are providing on our channel, Geeks for Geeks. Thank you very much for joining me in this lecture, and have a great day.